People get scammed buying used cars all the time, but why and how to protect yourself against dishonest sellers or scammers? Let's find out. About a month ago, I was sent a video by Marek. The video was by him, he didn't send it to me, in which he exposes a supercar scammer. I watched it and asked myself, how on earth do people fall for this? I won't spoil the video, I'll link it below, but I sat down with my friend Paweł Olszowiec of motoreporter.com and he gave me some useful tips on how to protect yourself when buying a second-hand car. I have an hour-long video on the Polish channel, so if you want to watch that with auto-translated subtitles, go ahead. Some of the issues we discussed there are specific to Poland, so in this video I'll try to summarize tips relevant regardless of where you are. Tip number 1. Don't send money. Verify as much information about the car online, and if it seems legit, go and see it. Or send someone to see it. Here in Poland, Motoreporter will vet the car for you and tell you if it's as good as the seller claims. He'll also investigate other points which, if left unverified, could spell trouble later on. We'll get to those in a moment. Tip number 2. There is more to buying and selling a car than just a vehicle purchase-sale agreement. You'll have to check your local regulations to see if buying a car from a private person gives you the right to any claims if there is something wrong. With the car, that is. The agreement should include all the information necessary for any of the parties to register the car, to pay tax, and to identify easily the other party in case of problems exposed soon after the transaction. Tip number 3. Add the transaction time so there are no doubts as to who pays the ticket on the date of the deal. Tip number 4. Make an annex describing the car's cosmetic and technical condition. Take photos and keep them for a while. If the seller withheld some information and there is a major problem with the car, maybe you can return it. Check your local regulations. But then you may need some additional documentation regarding the condition the car was in when you took over it. If there is a missing key, put that in the annex as well, because if the car gets stolen, insurance companies usually ask to see both keys. Also, describing the condition of the car may help you justify the amount you paid or sold it for before the revenue office if there is any doubt as to the value of the car and the tax due. If the car is co-owned by another person, make sure that other person is either present to sign the agreement or has given the seller their power of attorney. Tip number 5. Put the real price on the contract. Some people will suggest putting lower price in the documents to pay lower tax, but if you have to return the car, you'll get less money back. Because you signed that, you bought the car for less than you really paid. Tip number 6. Depending on the country, insurance may be tied to the driver or to the car. If it is tied to the car, the buyer may be given some time by the former owner to get their own insurance, but after that the seller can cancel their policy, and canceling one's policy usually requires explicitly informing the insurance company about it. You don't want someone else's accidents to affect your insurance history. Also, if you choose to pay for insurance in installments, you save yourself the remaining period on your policy. Tip number 7. Buying a used car as a company is popular in some parts of Europe, as many people are sole proprietors. In this case, a VAT invoice may replace the purchase-sale agreement. Of course, an annex with full description of the car still applies. While a VAT invoice doesn't matter to a private buyer, buying a car from a business seller often gives you more rights. So a detailed annex describing the condition of the car is of even greater importance for both parties. Tip number 8. When buying a car from a company, make sure to verify that the person selling the car has the right to sell it. This person is either the owner of the used car dealer or an employee whose actual job it is to sell the car. Some used car dealers trick their customers by having a person not formally employed sell you the car, and then you have no claim because who sold you this car? This is also something worth paying attention to when you see photos of cars with a certain dealership in the background. It does not mean that the dealership is actually responsible for selling those particular cars. You may be buying a car in city X from a company which happens to be a hair salon in city Z. Yes, it happens, and people fall for it. But then people are ready to wire thousands of euros to some guy who claims to have a reasonably priced car for sale, and they never see the guy or the money again. Tip number 9. Odometer reading may not be the actual mileage, so be careful what you sign. Depending on a car's history, the odometer could have been replaced at some stage, or, like in the case of Fiat Doblo, it just stops at 400,000 kilometers. This is something to consider because dishonest sellers may put odometer reading on the purchase-sale agreement, and they may not be held accountable if that number turns out later to be false. Tip number 10. Temporary registration is temporary. Cars sold in Europe get temporary registration documents, which allows the authorities to verify the car's history and often prevent a fraudulent transaction. It usually takes a couple of weeks, so if someone selling the car still has a temporary registration, you should wait for them to get permanent documents. This is where you can leave them a down payment, but only after you sign an agreement that if there is a problem with the registration, you get your money back. Tip number 11. Check if the car has been paid off, used as a collateral, or reported stolen. Some people in financial dire straits report their car stolen to either claim insurance or stop paying installments. Chances are these are not particularly smart people and their scam will be discovered, or the car was already reported stolen, recovered, but then that was never cleared from the system. Regardless of what happened, you'll be in trouble if you get stopped by the police, who discover you're driving what, to them, is a stolen vehicle. Tip number 12. If an offer looks too good to be true, it probably is. Don't send money to people who say they have many offers from buyers. Focus on the car's technical condition, but also look at the formal side of the deal. Because if there's anything wrong with the car soon after the transaction, you may still be able to recover at least some of your money. Perhaps you're lucky enough to always shake hands on a deal and drive away in a shiny, almost new car in perfect condition, but real life isn't always like on Wheeler Dealers, where Mike asks if the car's okay and the seller pours out their heart with all the minor issues and is willing to accept a lowball offer. Good luck. If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, join me every Friday at 3 p.m. Central European Time. And don't forget to subscribe and like this video, as it helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.